Hello and welcome back to the programming bootcamp of Code Maven. My name is Gabor Sabo and welcome back, Nóra.
Hi.
This episode we are going to, it's mostly you are going to do it. We're going to go over the exercises and the solutions of the dictionary chapter. So if you're watching the videos, then I'll already started to put on the time marks on the main page of the website, so you can be able to find where to jump to specific exercises or specific solutions or specific parts. So let's go ahead. Tell us the exercises. We'll have to go over them.
All right. I'll share the screen then.
Yeah.
You should be able to see it now, right?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, it takes a couple of seconds. Yes. Okay, and I can see your editor.
Yes, that's ready. Solutions are okay. So the first exercise that we actually had a lot of them. This was 10 or 11 exercises, I think.
Yeah.
The first one was to count characters using dictionaries, obviously.
Yes.
From a text, which was just a string added in the script. So this was my solution for that. Here's the text itself. Is the font size good, or do you want me to?
It's perfect for me.
So obviously then I iterated over this text as a list to get all of the characters separately.
Okay, you don't need that list there.
Don't I? Okay.
So.
Okay, so then here's a question. So if I don't put list there, wouldn't it just go over each and every word? Would it go over all the characters?
No. When you're iterating with a for in loop on a string, it goes character.
Okay. Right. So then I iterated over the string. And with each character, I checked if it was already in the counter, which was the dictionary up here.
Okay.
If it was in there, then I would get the character as the key, obviously, and add 1 to the remaining value. And if it wasn't there, then I just put it there. So I create the key of the character and then make the value 1.
Right.
At the end, I just sorted it so that it would be in alphabetical order and then printed everything out. Again, iterating over the sorted list and then picking up the value of the key as well.
Wait a second, sorted characters, that sorts the keys, right?
Yes, it sorts the keys. So this is a list, if I'm correct.
Yes.
And then I just iterate over the list, which gives me the keys, and then I would just print out the key and the value belonging to that key.
Okay, so that's interesting. So in this case, you can you show the result?
Yes, of course. Now you can see my prompt, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the
name? I can
see
both.
Count characters. Yeah, this is the one. So here we go. This is it. Okay. So here the first one would be a new line, if I'm right.
Yeah, I think that's
then the spaces. And so I didn't remove those. I could do that, but
okay.
And also one other thing was with next exercises. In some places I would make everything lowercase, but here I just chose to keep the uppercase letters as uppercase.
Okay, good. Fine.
Characters, but
I wanted to ask you about that, but if that's in one of the following exercises, then it's okay. Good. Right. Yeah, I think it's good.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe I can. Okay, so let's go back. Can you open a browser as well?
Browser, of course.
Yeah.
I'm here in the. What do you need?
Yeah. So let's look at the solution I have. Can you?
Okay.
32, I think.
This should be it, right?
Right. Yeah. So this is basically the same. Yeah. There is something called the defaultdict. So if you search in Google for or whatever search engine you use for default dict, Python, I guess we have to.
Okay, yeah.
But it's already there, so that's gonna be the first answer anyway. It seems.
This should be it, right?
Yeah.
This one?
I think you can. I don't know. You can look at the third line. Maybe it can work. It's just an example, probably somewhere.
Okay.
I'm not sure. So you can. Let's scroll. Yeah. In the lower case, so you can see the second example where it says from collections. Yeah, you can see. So it says from collections import default dict, and then it says on line 3 food count equal default dict int.
Okay.
Okay. So what this does, it changes the behavior of the dictionary. So you can do whatever you can see on food count +1, the plus equal 1 on line 5th line. I think.
Yes.
So you don't need to do this conditional of checking if it's already in there and not, because it auto increments. So if what it does, this default dict, is that if the key doesn't exist yet, and you try to increment it with plus equal some number, okay, then it assumes that it pretends as if it existed with a value of 0.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you the plus equal 1 just adds up. So adds one to it. So I also note to myself that I add this, but let's try to do this in our case.
Here, so I don't need any of this right now. First, I need to import.
What you need to import that the default dict.
This was it, right?
I think so, yes. And then when you say characters, when you say, the characters, that equals to default dict and then in parentheses int. So the int says that the default behavior is like integer-like behavior.
Right.
You could say all kind of other things, and then it would have some different default value. And then you don't need the else, the if part and the else part.
Like that.
Yes.
Should I run it?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was this one, and it does the same.
It looks the same. Okay. So this is like a special case for dictionaries, especially when you'd like to count them.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Let's go to the next exercise.
Okay. Next one was the same thing, but with opening it from a file. So here the extra thing was that I used this list to store the file in that list, and then made a string of it. And then again, I don't need this.
Yeah. No, that or that list. You don't.
And here actually I used everything lowercase.
Right. Okay, that's nice. One thing that I would note here is that I probably wouldn't do well, a couple of things. Okay, actually, one of the things that if you wanted to read the whole text into, okay, couple of things here. So first of all, you created a list called text on line 4, and then on line 10 you took that list, joined it together into a string, and text is now a string.
Yes.
And personally, I think it's an issue. There are tools that to find to locate cases where you change the type of the content of a variable, and in general, I think it's not a good idea.
Okay.
To do that because it can be confusing to the reader.
Right. So
but then we confuse it. Wait a second. Before, yeah, we can change it, but wait a second. So that's just one thing that I mentioned. Now the other thing, that if you decide that you wanted to read anyway the whole content as a string, at the end, what you have here is the whole content of the file as a single string. So you don't need to read the line, the whole text line by line. You can just say text equals to fh. So after the open.
After the open. So do I need the
You don't need the
bit?
for loop anymore.
Okay.
Well, just keep it for now. Yeah, that's So that's the way. That's what I suggested.
Okay.
So text equal.
Text equal.
And then fh dot read.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and that reads the whole file into the text variable. The only difference here can you see the difference between the two solutions, between the results? Or can you guess?
I suppose. So we don't need to read it line by line. So does it add any new lines? So I don't need to deal with the new lines now, do I?
No, it's the opposite. So it keeps all the new lines inside.
Yeah.
So it's not that good. So it's slightly different, because now if your text had multiple lines, then in the text variable, inside the text variable, you have various places where you have new lines.
Okay, but it doesn't add new ones, does it?
No, it doesn't add new ones, but it doesn't remove the ones in the middle, what you did earlier. And of course, you can add the dot lore at the end of this if that's what you like. So it reads in the content, and then on the content it runs lower, and then the result is assigned to the variable text. Okay.
Okay.
So that's where, if you would really like to do this. Okay. Wait. We'll have some more here. Okay.
Do you need me to put that back?
No, I probably not.
Okay.
And that's one more thing that I think you can, if you'd like to get rid of the new lines, probably I wouldn't suggest here actually, but if you wanted, you could, after you did the reading, you can say text equal to, I think you can say dot substitute or something like this. I don't remember now the method name. Would replace, I think, text and equal to text dot replace, I think. And then you put in a new line as the first parameter, and then comma and an empty string. I think that will just take the whole text, replace all the new lines, and then give you a new string without the new lines. It's a bit. I'm not sure if it's a good idea. Maybe I would filter out these new lines while I'm running the loop. But it all depends on what you need. And also there is an issue here. Think about now, not in this case, but think about you reading a text, and just the regular text, and you have some word at the end of a line, and the next line starts with a word. And for the reader, it's okay. It's clear that there are two words because they are on new lines. But now that you remove the new lines, they are attached to each other.
Right. So it should be a space here instead of an empty string.
I mean, not for our case, because our case is different because you're counting the characters. But if you would like to understand the text, then won't have to think about it. Okay. And the final thing is that instead of this, I would probably, instead of reading in the whole content, okay, and having in a variable, I would probably do the counting line by line. And that's because if the file is huge, okay, then you can't read into the memory the whole file.
Right.
Okay, so in this case, we had a small file, it doesn't matter. But if you think about it, a huge gigabyte of whatever, of data that you need to process, then it would be better to do it line by line, okay, and combine the two parts together.
Right.
So let's try to do this now.
Okay, so now I'll just.
So yeah, you don't need all those. You can enable that, yeah.
But we don't need the append bit.
Yeah, you don't need to append.
Okay, I'm not going to be needing this.
No.
Okay, so here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
You can
So
assign that to text or back to line.
yeah. Okay.
As you.
Oh, to line.
It doesn't matter. Okay, and you don't need the parentheses around.
Yes. Here.
Okay.
And now for character in line, right? So
Yeah.
here comes a new loop. And now I don't need all of this if I do import the.
Yeah, so you're importing from collections.
Defaultdict.
Yes.
And then here I would just say character equals defaultdict int. And then here I can just say ch+1, right?
Yes.
And then I don't need any of it.
Right. And hopefully this will work.
Yes, okay. Let's try it.
Okay.
And the rest is fine. It's just the same as before.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that I think in my slides I also don't have it as I would like it, but I would probably prefer to have characters dot. So in the line 13, that at the end of the characters you put in dot keys.
Okay.
At least to me it's clear, and then parentheses. At least to me it's clearer that now we are iterating over the keys instead of the previous one. Okay, the previous one was it reads to me confusing, and I know that I have the same issue with the slides, so
right.
I should update that too.
Okay, I'll run it then. What was it? Python.
No, I am the one taking the notes. Okay, so just don't. If I look on the side, just don't worry. I'm taking notes now.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, this was the one. Let me find the file, which was. I think it was lorem ipsum.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You can actually give the same file name that the program is, and it will work on it. But yeah, okay.
So
okay.
yeah.
It works. It does something. It counts.
Does something at least.
I don't know if it is the correct answer, but it looks sort of good. Okay. Yeah, there's this whole thing of learning how to write tests to your program. That so okay, what we did now is basically we refactor the code. Okay, because the behavior is expected to be the same, just the internals of the code are different to make them I don't know, more readable or faster, or I don't know, whatever. Hopefully we improved it. Okay, so this is the general concept of refactoring. And one of the key things about refactoring is that and in general I think in programming, but is to have tests that can check your code, your application. So you have some, let's say, a test here. A test would be that running this program with a given file and checking that the result is what you expected, and then do it with a couple of files. And then if let's say with an empty file or whatever, so files with special characters, and to see if your program deals with it properly. And then once you made the changes, you run the same tests, and you can now see if everything works the same way exactly as it worked before. So if you can assume that the tests were correct before, then it's still correct. Okay. Okay. Yeah. It's not really part of the course, I think, writing tests, maybe, but maybe we do look at, maybe I will have a little short chapter just to look at in general the concept of it. So you can, because I think it's super useful for everyone, not only for programmers who write like applications for I don't know what, but but for anyone anyone writing programs. So what I said, it's not for professional programmers, just for everyone who's writing programs, because everyone is a programmer who writes programs. Okay, right. Any
Okay.
questions here?
No, this was now I have more insight, but yeah, I didn't have any special questions here.
Okay, good.
Do you want me to go on?
Yeah, sure. Let's go on.
Okay. Next one was similar again, but we needed to count words instead of characters. Right. So again, I just iterated over the list that we had.
Yeah, what I can see is just the same, and
yeah,
you can leave it like this. Yeah.
Okay. It's literally the same as the one before.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with opening a file here. Okay. Again, so I read everything into a list and then worked from there.
So it's counting words from a file.
Yes.
Okay, so let me just go over this. Okay, you asked for the file name. As a reminder, it's probably easier for the user if you don't ask. I don't know. I actually don't know. I mean, you're more closer to people who are users
using, yeah,
than I am. And for Windows users, it's slightly different. For me, it feels much easier to, because I live on the command lines. Every time I type in Python, whatever, to just type in the name of the file on the command line instead of waiting for the user to type in again and again the same thing.
Right.
Or slightly different thing. So that's just, at the end, you have to decide what is more comfortable to your users, who might be you yourself or some other people. Okay. Yeah, and then you read in the file line by line. And then for word in lines, so you split, that's actually a key part of it, line 7, 8. So how you iterate over the words, that's like a huge difference from all the previous ones, that you take the line and split it according to the spaces, and now you get a list of words.
Yes.
And then you iterate over that list of words in this line 7. Okay, and then you do the lowercase later on. It doesn't really matter where you do all this lower, before, after. In this case, you already didn't read the whole content of the file in memory. You did it line by line, so it's better. And
so actually, I don't need that list name text, because line.split is already a list, isn't it?
Sorry, the list, which line, sorry?
So here in line 3, I don't really need this anymore, because this is already a list, isn't it?
So this returns, oh, wait a second. Okay, I didn't read it properly. Okay, sorry, I didn't read it properly. So yeah, you take the words and then you create a list of the words.
Yes. Do I need that at all?
So you don't need the separate. You don't need the loop. You can assign it immediately to the text. Yeah. So there's an couple of interesting ways to do that. One of them is to use, instead of using append, because append would only add one single value. Instead of that, you could use either the word extend, or you could say the list arithmetic, basically. So you could say text equals to text plus the new list.
Right.
That you received from the split.
Okay. From the.
So
right. My question though is that this expression here.
Yeah.
It already returns a list, doesn't it?
Right.
So I don't really, if I don't want to read the whole file into one list, then I don't need to append these bits to a separate list I created, do I?
Right.
I can just iterate over, like do this loop in here.
I just misunderstood you again. Yes, that's right.
So should I do that? Is that better, or?
Yeah, it's definitely better. Again, if you have a huge file, then this wouldn't work.
Yes. Okay. So I don't need this, and I don't need this. I can do these bits here.
Right, you don't need the both iterations. Now you have 2 iterations.
Oh,
7 and 8.
yes,
You don't need
yes.
9.
So I don't need this.
Yeah. And I think there is an issue with the order of the conditions here. I'm not sure. So you say, you check if word is equal to empty. I would probably do is that I first check would be if word equals to that 2 lines, so 10 and 11. The 2 lines, 10 and 11, I would put at the beginning, and then that's
Right.
it. Then that would be a separate if statement for the other one.
Oh, okay. So like this. This would be here.
Yeah,
And
so,
this.
and then you have a separate if, and that too you probably can get rid of if you use the default dict. I see you like this default dict thing.
Yes.
Yeah. This is the default. In the Perl programming language, that's the default behavior.
Right.
For whatever, I mean, what the Perl has for instead of dictionaries.
Yes, and now I don't need any of this. Or this.
Yeah. Yes.
Like that?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And then,
Okay.
so probably I wouldn't, so this, you have a couple of things mixed here. The R strip is on its own line, but the lower is on the line of the splitting. Actually, this won't work because now you have the lower code on the
right.
list. So I would put, if anything, I would probably put it there maybe. Because that's sort of the stringy thing part, and then the other one is the list separations part. I'm not sure the stacking of methods, if it's how good it is for readability. You'll come back to it 2 weeks from now, and then you'll tell me what you feel, or tell yourself at least. Okay, what you think. If it's readable, then just okay. If you think that's the stacking is not a good idea, then don't do it. Okay, so but it's totally up to you. Okay, so now I have actually a question before we go on. So we do you remember the solution? So we had the exercise of counting, I think, letters or words in the previous chapter as well, when we only had lists. And then you had this solution of 2 lists, right? And now you have a dictionary. Why do you think, what's the big difference between the 2? Why would either one of them be better? Which one is better?
I feel like the dictionary is easier for me in a way that the assignment between the 2 lists, let's say, so between the keys and the values, is so much more understandable than with the 2 separate lists. Okay. So they're assigning using the indices of the 2 lists gets a bit confusing when you want to refer to either list or the other, for me anyway. Right.
Actually, if you look at the code, you can see that the one that with the lists is with the 2 lists is a lot longer.
Of course, yeah.
Than the one with the dictionary. What is the speed of the 2?
Obviously, because we're using like small files, I don't really see a difference between the 2 when I run it.
You don't experience the difference, but
yeah. Can you? I suppose the dictionary one would be much faster because it's easier to find the keys.
Yeah. So now we have to talk about this complexity thing that I mentioned earlier. So the O something, that function that describes basically how long it will take this algorithm, basically this program, to run based on the length of the input. And so what is the complexity of the version when you solve it with two lists? How many? So given n letters, okay,
Yeah.
n letters in a file or in the string, it doesn't matter. How many of these major operations you need to do?
Well, you go through all of them twice, basically, don't you? Because of the counting as well. So it should be n times n.
Exactly, because for every so it's n squared, because because for every, which is just the same, right? So it's when you call the index function, Python actually has to go through the whole list. And so even though for us it looks like just one operation, it's actually an operation that goes over the whole list. So if all the letters are different, so it's like the worst case scenario for in this case, for us, for the length of this, then you have to go over for each character, each word or each letter, you go over the first list every time. So it's n squared. And what about the dictionary case?
I'm not too sure how the finding of a key works.
So accessing a dictionary key is O of 1.
Oh, okay. Because so it's just n.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Right. So this solution is just n, O of n. So just for a quick calculation, that means for 10 elements, that's 10 versus 100.
Yes.
And for 100 elements, that's 100 versus 10,000. So it really quickly escalates to much faster or much slower in case of the list of lists. And of course, we didn't feel this primarily because the file operations are, I think, about 100 times slower than any operation in the memory. So because the files were small, all this gain, we didn't have this gain. But if the content is large, then you really quickly feel this the issue. So you can actually try this by generating a huge file. So write a script that creates a huge file and then run the two versions and measure the time.
Okay.
It's a good exercise to see this in Word, because then,
the actual differences,
yeah, because then you'll say, okay, so I have to think about this, because this impacts a lot of how much I have to wait to get my results.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right. Do you want me to run this or no?
Well, are we confident that it's going to be running? Yeah,
it should be.
Yeah, let's run this.
Okay. Right. So what was the name? I forgot the name. It was count words from file, and then I gave it the same text, and yes, it works.
Okay.
Yay.
Good.
Okay. Right. So next exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The next one was the Apache log, where we had to look for the IP addresses in each row and count how many times they occur.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I made a dictionary of the IP addresses, and then asked for the file, opened the file, went through all of the lines. I created a list with splitting the lines, and I split them using spaces, because I saw that after each IP address there is a space, but there is no space in the IP addresses.
Right.
And I only needed the IP address. And then after the split, I looked for the very first item in that list, which should be the IP address. Iterated over all of okay, if it is in the counter, then it counts. Yeah.
Yes, the rest is the same. So the question, the main thing here was, the main difference here in this exercise is is the splitting, or how do you find the IP address? Okay.
Yeah.
Here I think I can have also a little improvement, but let's run this first. Okay, so we see that it runs, and then we also have the results on the screen, and then we can compare that the results are the same.
Okay, let me just, this was, oh, no, that's not what I wanted. Sorry.
Yeah.
This should be that.
Okay. So let's go back to the editor and make a little change that I don't know if it's an improvement or not in your eye, but you can put the square bracket 0. So, I mean, there are tons of ways to get out the elements, to locate the IP address, okay?
Yes.
One of them is the splitting. I'm not even sure now. I think you can actually give split a number as a second parameter, and that it will limit the number of splits, so it won't have to work and go
through all of them,
because you don't care. Okay, so that's just to spare some time, I think. We can try that, but before that you do that, let's try something else. So on line 6 at the end, put in the square bracket 0.
Oh no.
Yeah. So now, and then you can rename the log to be just IP.
Okay.
Because now it already gets out the IP address.
Yes. So this should be IP as well.
Yeah, this IP, and then the next, and in the middle, those two. Okay, let's run this one just to make sure that it works. That's another thing when you are doing.
It does.
It gives the same answer. That's another thing that you do when you do refactoring or any change. That small change you check, small change you check, and if you were using version control as well already, I would do small change, check, commit to the version control. So each of these changes separately will be easier to understand to whoever actually later needs to read it.
Right.
And yeah, so it's going to be easier to follow the steps that you took instead of having a huge set of changes. Okay, so that's one of them. The other things I think I don't remember 100%. If you can put after the space in the split, you can put another parameter, and then I think you can say just 2 there. And if I'm not mistaken, just let's try this one now, and then we might read the documentation now. Yeah. So if I'm not mistaken, I mean, you can read the documentation of split. Then this will limit the number of maybe actually even 1 would work there, because I think that the number here is how many pieces, how many times it splits. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Yeah, it seems.
Although we don't see the actual change, so even if it didn't,
I mean, you can now print out the IP address online after that. Yeah, yeah.
But so now I can print IP.
No, you don't. You do need that. Okay.
But then, I mean, if okay.
Okay. Go ahead. No,
My point was that even if it doesn't, that disregards the second parameter, the 0, the first parameter would be the same.
Right. That's true. Well, but yeah. Okay. So you just for so now just remove the So just for now you can remove the
0.
Run this code. It will break because all kind of other things.
Yes.
Not working the way we are expecting, but at least we'll see the result.
Yeah, so it prints out the
1 and then the second
one, and then the second one.
Yeah. Okay, so the split, the second parameter of split. I mean, so this is how. I mean, I don't want to generalize of all the programmers, but this is how I work. Instead of reading the documentation, I just experiment. Okay.
Yeah.
But the right way would be to actually read the documentation to make sure that it's not something else that somehow happen to work this way, but this is what really it does. So the second parameter tells split how many times to split. Okay, how many times to cut. Okay.
Right.
Okay, and then it probably saves time. I don't know if it's relevant really, probably not, but at this point, but just a thing that you can use in other places as well.
I really like that.
Okay. Then you will probably want to read on other use cases. So it's for counting, that's you use it with the int, but you can have other things there instead of int to be the default value. The default.
Right.
So it's
okay.
Okay, let's go on.
The rest is the same. So.
No, I mean
the printing. Okay, next exercise was to combine lists again, which we had in the previous chapter as well, where we had the two separate files, and then the output was the combined file with names of vegetables and a number assigned to it.
Okay.
So yeah, I just read in both files. And use the same method that we used before, yes. with splitting with two variables, and then just did the counting the same as the previous two exercises. The only different thing was here that with the writing I had to obviously open the new file.
Yes.
And then write the same stuff that I also printed out, which I didn't need to print out, but I thought it would useful to see it on the screen as well.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, okay, good.
Should I go on? Next one?
Yeah, how many have you covered already?
We covered, I think 6.
Out of 11?
Out of 11, yeah.
So we can take a break or we can go on as you prefer.
I really don't mind. We can take a break if you'd like.
Okay, so let's take a break now, and then we go on in the next video. So thank you very much. Really great solutions, and thank you everyone who was watching the video. So bye bye.
Thank you. See ya.
See you.